Good morning, pirates. It's calendar week 25. Soft bread and hard edges at the barracks. I've had a lovely week in the garden. All of the root seeds are in the ground. Nearly all of the plants which started off in seeds in trays a couple of months ago seem to be happy enough in their new places. And I was going to say that I think we've mostly won the war on slugs, but then this morning I did see a few again. Time to get out again at sunrise and start relocating them. Sad news from the vineyard, though. It seems like we may have failed up there again. I've thought about it, but I shall save those thoughts for a newsletter where I have less to say, probably in the winter. Pumpkin patch is also not awesome, but at least there will be some activity up there. I was hoping the summer wheat might beat the weeds, but it's a dead heat at the minute. The plan is going to be basically to mow it and use the grain-rich weed mowings as pig food directly. I think they're going to love it, and it should give maybe 100 feeds, so not completely wasted. Self-sufficient bread baking. Bread has 4 ingredients: flour, salt, yeast and water. As you know, we're now self-sufficient in wheat flour. 2 years ago, I bought 2 kilos of winter wheat seed and harvested nearly 30 kilos of wheat from it. This would be, to a proper farmer, an awful year. But proper farmers need to buy tractors and fuel and herbicides and pesticides and fertilizers and all that expensive stuff. And then they need to make a profit to feed their families with food they buy from the supermarket and to send their kids to private schools. We just need to bake bread and save a couple of kilos to sow again. The wheat currently doing great guns in the potager. Is from that saved seed. We are now self-sufficient in wheat. Water. Well. Salt. I was hoping to pick it up off the ground. That is, after all, where salt mostly grows, right? Underground. I spent many, many hours poring over geological maps of the local area, and then the maps of the whole of Germany and bits of the Czech Republic. There is no salt in the ground anywhere near me. There is no rock salt in Germany. My current thoughts on obtaining the sodium echloride flavour enhancer are to spend the winter walking to the Mediterranean, where I shall find a nice clean cove, set up tent, and spend a month extracting it from the sea. Until then, it looks like we're still buying it. Yeast. Dried yeast is expensive. So I cycled off to a friendly baker and bought some of their fresh yeast. €1 for a chunk as big as my fist. For the last month, I've been keeping it alive in my fridge. Whenever I need to bake a loaf, I bring it out, warm it up, mix in a bit of sugar to perk it up a bit, and wait for it to go frothy. I pour the bubbling goodness into my wheat and water mix, and set about kneading it with a wooden spoon for a good half hour. I make it quite wet, rather too much so to do it with my hands. Then I bake bread, and add some flour to the water and yeast slop, mix it up, and leave it for a bit, returning it to the fridge when I remember. The week ahead. Now that the potager has entered the summer cycle of weed, water and mow, it's time to turn our attention to the soft fruits. They're a bit overcome with weeds, but nothing that can't be sorted quite quickly, and then bang straight on with the harvest. Strawberries are nearly coming, and the gooseberries are starting to plumpen up. It's nearly jam time. The tomato house. I was full of optimism for the next step last week, but sadly one of the few things that I refuse to even try, is to get bags of cement by bike. I need 3 of them, that's all, just 3. But the nearest builder's merchant is 18 kilometres away, and don't forget the barracks is on the top of a hill. 1 bag at a time, 108 kilometres, 1,000 metres ascent. No, just no. I thought I had vehicular assistance planned for last week, but that fell through. So, hopefully this week. Smaller things this week. Continue with the potager edges that I made great progress on this week, but forgot to take a photo of. Tie the strings of the bean gate, put pumpkins in the vineyard, clear the rest of the pig poop out of the pig house and wash it down, and fix the fence that the piggers ate before they decide to go through it. And at the end of the week, it's midsummer, in name. We've We have not had a great deal of the warm stuff, but I suspect there will be plenty of that to come. I shall do my 108 sun salutations and make a fire, and it will be lovely. Pirate gardening tip of the week. Plucking potato flowers. Plants, that is flowering plants, which are pretty much the only plants we eat, mostly want to make seeds, send them off into the world on the wind, on the backs of bees, or through the poops of birds, and make babies. Go forth and be fruitful, literally. If the plant is an apple or a cob nut or a leaf of wheat, then that's exactly what we want as well. If it's a cauliflower or a carrot or a potato, we'd be best to deny it its reproductive urges and make sure it does less of that silliness and more of the things that we want it to do. So the theory, and the science for that matter, is that if you stop the plant putting all its energy into making seeds, which are made in the lady flowers, remember, then it makes more of the roots, which makes sense, I guess, because more roots means more chance of new plants sprouting next week, and double the chances of planty sexy time. This one, though, I'm going to leave up to you. If you want to maximise your yields, and that is all you're interested in, then A, you're probably a permacultist, and B, go for it. I, on the other hand, think potato flowers are properly beautiful and choose to leave them on the plant. Also, potato fruits are mental. Remind me to show you them in October. So I guess this week's pirate gardening tip is, here's a thing you might not have known you can do, but I don't do it. Helpful as ever. And now I'm going to go and see what's with the oats that I soaked overnight. Once again, I'm trying to make a decent plant-based milk. I think that it might be all about the bag you use to strain them. Onwards! I do hope you all have lovely weeks. Make sure you spend as much time outside as you can, and a happy midsummer to you all. Take care of each other. Your loving Pirate Ben. XO. XO.